these sessions, Zoom sessions, so they can be more interactive, because we do love the community feel that this brings. So if you'd like to get involved, please do. And let's start. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. And I'm meeting you today on the beautiful land of the Darkinjung people here on the Central Coast. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we all gather today for this session, and pay my sincere respects to elders past, present and emerging, and celebrate the ongoing culture and connection to the land and waters of Australia. And my name is Zoe Bowes. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the event managers here at Business New South Wales, who are proudly partnering with Destination North Coast to help deliver these tourism awards. And I'll be your host for today's session. And it's so wonderful to see so many of you joining us. And for those who are watching this recording at home, a big g'day from me as well. I've been so looking forward to this session. I can't tell you. We're going to have a really good time. So brace yourselves, and please do watch it back because it's going to be quite meaty. So it's worth keeping hold of it and dipping in and out as and when you need to over the coming weeks. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to my wonderful co-host, Jackie Burnside, who many of you know already, to formally open the meeting.
Gosh, it's all a bit formal for us, but anyway, hi everyone, and thanks for joining the webinar today to gain support for and knowledge about the 2024 North Coast Tourism Awards program. I think I've met or communicated with most of you over the years, and if not, I'm Jack Burnside, Industry Engagement Manager for Destination North Coast. Zoe's already done a nice acknowledgement of where she is. I'm on Bundjalung land in the Northern Rivers, so also acknowledging the enduring custodianship of our people in this part of the world. As we did last year, Destination North Coast is really pleased to be partnering with Business New South Wales to bring this regional awards program to the North Coast. We see the awards as an opportunity for businesses to work on their business rather than in it. And it's a chance to reflect on your achievements, strategies, and plans for the future, because this in the longer term will help foster growth and sustainability within our industry. I'll shortly hand back to Zoe, but I just wanted to really thank you for the time. I know it takes a bit to take an hour out. And that time to educate yourself on the awards process and portal, and to encourage you to really take on board the suggestions provided here today, but importantly to use the business application process as an opportunity to improve your business. Just this morning, I saw that Tourism Tribe, if any of you know them, they're a consulting agency in our industry. They've posted awards entry guidelines on their websites. There's lots of support around. So use it all and enjoy the process. And we look forward to your fabulous applications coming in. So back over to you, Zoe.
Very much, and beautifully said. Thank you, Jackie. So let's get into our agenda for today, or our journey, as I like to call it. So on screen, you'll see the agenda of the things that we'll be covering today. So a deep dive masterclass with some top tips to become an awards writing rock star, as I like to call it. But I just wanted to be super duper clear about something before I start. This session is not to tell you what to write. It's to help you get a better understanding of what the judges are looking for, how to improve your overall score, and get handy insights and tips to write that unbeatable entry that we're all hoping you do. And something else that is a really timely subject that you'll see down the bottom is the topic, or the hot topic, of AI, which is the word on everyone's lips at the moment, and how you can use it, because we do encourage you to use it, actually, surprisingly, to use it to your advantage without losing judges' points. But before we begin, can I see a quick show of hands of the newbies in the room who've not entered before, if anyone? So we have a lot of returning entrants then. Can I get the returning entrants to put up their hands? Okay. Nice. Welcome back then. Brilliant. So it's good to have a nice blend of newbies and oldies in the room. And I think it's time to begin. So questions are super encouraged. As I said, this is an interactive session, so be as involved as you would like. Post your questions in the chat, and lovely Miss Donna will be keeping an eye on that for us, and we'll flag anything that comes through. Anything I don't get time to answer, we can do it at the end, or I can respond to you privately afterwards. But don't be shy. We're all Tourism Awards family here, so please get involved and make the most of this time together. And anything you like to ask me privately as well, you can do in a private chat as well. I'll be sharing my contact details on screen at the end, so you'll have them handy if you need them in the future. A quick troubleshooting session on the portal actually before you start. If you've jumped in and you can't go any further than the first page, it's a little bit different this year for the returning entrants. We're asking for payment on entry rather than on completion. So that's your first port of call if you can't go any further than the first page. And just a quick reminder that you can download a PDF of your questions and your entry criteria straight from the portal. So it's a great thing to print out and have handy to work through it and to get an overview of everything that's being asked in your category. I love this slide, and the real title of this slide, and I wanted to start this session today by asking why enter the awards? And really the title of the slide should be, why do I keep writing this award submission even when I'm really time poor and it hurts? But this whole slide is about your why. And I thought it was important to start with reminding you and reassuring you that entering the Tourism Awards is a really, really good thing. And Jack touched on it so beautifully at the opening of this session. It's such a good thing for your business. And how much time do you spend on your business and in your business? Loads. But how much time do you spend stepping outside it and looking at it from the outside in, explaining it in depth to help someone understand the value of your business, of your achievements, of what you've done, how you've helped the community, the environment. So this is kind of your opportunity to step off the floor and do that. And it's really worth it. You went into business to be successful, to make a difference, to bring joy. So stop doing it for a few hours a week and start telling us all about it instead. So it's a lovely way to bring the team together, to remind you of your wins, reflect on your successes, your innovations, your improvements, and the feedback that you get from our expert judges at the end. And as those who have entered last year will know, it's really meaningful. And it's not just about how you can improve your submission for next year. The feedback they give means you can incorporate that into your future marketing, your future strategy planning. It's really good to have someone else looking at what you're doing and giving you advice on how you can do it better potentially. And all of these things are worth more than a trophy at the end, even though I'm sure you're all hoping that you'll have one in your hands. So I think this slide is just for me to remind you to keep going, and this is why. And this is my favorite slide of the whole presentation, and it's the most important message I want to drill home to all of you today. Write it down, put it on your fridge, put it in a frame on your desk, because it's the story that matters. We want to know all about you, what your successes are, what your passions are, what really matters to you, and most importantly, what makes you unique, because this will capture the imagination of your judges. I want you to touch their hearts with what you write. I want you to make yourself memorable. So just remember, everything you write, tell a story with it. So just remember this slide, and just remember that in all of your submission writing, you're talking to another person. You're talking to a human on the other side. So you need to draw people into your business and your brand, tell them the story, and do it straight from your heart. I thought this would be a beneficial one to help you find your why. So we know what you do, and you can tell us what you do and how you do it, which is fine, but we want to know why you do what you do, what your purpose is. And when you drill down and find your purpose, it's a really powerful writing tool for your entry submission in terms of answering the questions properly and meaningfully. So find your why. Don't tell us what you do or how you do it. Tell us why you do it. And that will help you stand out again, which is really crucial in setting yourself apart from the other entries and submissions. And let's get to the 5 top tips of what you really, really need to know. And they're basic, but they will help, believe me. And if you do these well, you're in for a good chance at taking home that trophy. And the first one is write to the word count. In the words of Goldilocks, which I love to use, not too little and not too big, make it just right. So if the word count is 400 and you write 100 words, then you haven't answered the question properly. The word count is there for a reason. And my top tip for writing your submission is take it offline. Don't try and do it all on the portal. Do it on a Word document instead. Do it on a notepad. Get everything in your head out. Write down as many words as you like, and then you can start to craft it down to fit the space. So take out all the linking words, the words that don't add value. Be careful of all those filler words and of repeating yourself, but take it offline and write it down in full first, and then you can start to strip it down and tailor it down. And remember, you only have limited words. So focus on the areas that you're strongest in, the things that make you unique, the things that will make you stand out. You don't need to tell us every single thing. You can give us a summary, and then you can drill it down to focus on the key areas of your strengths. So my message to you when you're writing is focus on your priorities and your key strengths. Again, you can give us a summary, but make sure you focus on the things that make you unique, make you stand out, your key strengths. The second top tip is to use the STAR methodology. Methodology? That's a very hard word to say. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of STAR before, but it's a really good tool for crafting the answers to your questions. And if you follow this from start to finish, it will give you a really impactful answer that covers and ticks off everything that you need it to do in a response that the judges are looking for. So you start by setting the scene with the situation, and that should be in as few words as possible. Then the task. So describe what you were trying to achieve, or whatever the question is asking you to do or asking you about. And then the biggest part of your answer should be the actions and the results. What did you actually do? What was the outcome? And I'll get to why that's really important in the next slide or so, because telling us a story is one thing, but you need to back it up with proof. And these are just a few examples of what a good answer using the STAR methodology, or I got it right that time, would look like. And I've used examples that aren't questions in any of your categories because we want to keep this an even playing field, and we don't want to make it a cookie cutter answer for everyone. But they'll show you how to structure a good answer, and I'm not going to give you death by PowerPoint and read this out word by word. You can take your own time to do that, and everyone will get a copy of this recording at the end, and also of the slide deck, so you can go back and review it and listen to it again in your own time. But again, this is just showing you what a good answer looks like. So don't say something like we're always reviewing our goals and milestones. Do say this instead: we're reviewing our key goals and milestones, and this is how we do it, and this is the outcome for it, or the benefit of it, or what we've found from our research around it. I'll give you a little minute to read through that just to see the flavor of what I'm talking about. And then I'll move on to the next one. And again, another great example of how you can show some crucial data and not use up the word count. So dot points are more than fine in a submission. In fact, they're encouraged because they mean you can really get to the issue that you want to talk about in a concise way. Because again, it's about keeping it concise and impactful, but still getting as much information as you need to across to answer the question well. Again, I'll give you a little second to cast your eyes over that. And my top tip number 3, and again, this goes hand in hand with the storytelling one, which is my most important one. Speaking from the heart and saying it with heart is so important to help you stand out and get that oomph feeling from the judges. But this is the second most important message I want you to take away from this session. Telling the story in a warm and human way is important, but the second most crucial thing is quantifying the answer. So we need you to provide the data, the metrics, the proof that you've actually done and achieved this. So often we get grandiose statements like, we're the highest rated tourism business on the North Coast, but there's no data, no evidence to back that up. How do you know this? How do you know that your customers come back? How do you know that you have such good repeat business? You need to give the metrics around it. You're investing in improving your team or building a better brand. How are you doing this? You need to give the metrics. That's so important. And you can think outside the box with these metrics. They don't need to be financial. It can be social media stats. It can be customer feedback surveys. It can be staff surveys. It can be testimonials. Anything that backs up and proves what you're saying is so important. And if you don't include these metrics, and if you don't quantify your answers, you will be marked down, because that's also what the judges are really, really looking for. They're looking for the meat on the bones of your statements. So remember this, tell us a story, but back it up with facts. Super important. And another good example of how to layer a response with metrics. Don't just say we have a good retention rate. Say this instead. We have a good retention rate because we conduct surveys every 6 months, and a half-yearly result show that 87% of staff feel highly motivated, which is a 20% increase from our survey last year. Little things like that will go a long way to getting you a good mark in your submission. We required staff to complete some short skills training, which required a retention rate of 89%, things like that. Layer it in. It's important. And my golden tip number 5 is don't trust your tired eyes, like we did at the run through this morning when my spelling was all over the shop and Jackie pointed out some crucial spelling mistakes that I already had in this presentation. Get someone else to proof it for you, read it with you, read it out loud. Always get someone else to check before you submit. Because good grammar, spelling, punctuation is really important. You won't be marked down, but you don't want to distract from the quality of your writing and your submission. You want to put your best foot forward. So always take that crucial last step of double checking everything, and don't just do it yourself. Get someone like Jackie with her eagle eyes to help you with it. Little things, for example, if you're doing dot points and you put a capital at the beginning of every dot point, make sure you do it for them all. Simple things like that. We just don't want bad punctuation, spelling and grammar to distract from your message and put the judges off. Even though they can't mark down for it, it's still not a good look. And answer the question. And this sounds like a really silly, very basic top tip to put in. But if you've written a lovely story and you've included data and metrics as proof, fantastic. But are you answering the question? And are you answering all of the question? Because some of the questions have multiple questions within the question, just to make it that extra layer of awesomeness for you. So take the time to make sure your response is speaking to and ticking off every single part that the question is asking you. And this is actually a good way to use AI, which I'll get to in a minute, for your submission writing, because AI is a very logical tool. And if you give it a question to answer, it will make sure every point of that question has been answered when it responds. And I'll get to that in a second, but answer the question and answer every part of it. It's really important. Now, this is something that the oldies would have known last year, but it's a really important part, and the newbies this year won't be familiar with it, but it's your overall score is made up of your written submission, but also of your online review and your consumer rating. And your online review and your consumer rating are two things that are done in the background, but we need you to provide the right information to allow us to judge and score that properly. So the online review is where we go in and look at your website. And it's worth 20% of your overall score. So it's a really decent chunk of your total score. And it's an important one because I've seen businesses who've written outstanding submissions that have fallen down at the last hurdle and lost a gold by 1 mark because they've fallen down in the online review stage. So don't let this be you. And these are things that you can work on now. And this is the checklist of things that we would ask the judges to look at. So do you have a clear overview of your product, your service? Do you have high quality images on your website? A clear call to action to book, detailed contact information or booking inquiry information. An important one is your website mobile optimized? Is it SEO optimized? Are you on the front page of Google? Are your online booking sites on the first page of Google? Are you actively engaged in social media? Do you list on external sources? How often do you interact with or respond to customer reviews and feedback? Do you have an ATDW listing? And how actively do you promote your region and encourage visitation on websites and on social? So these are all things that the judges are looking at, and these are all boxes that they need to tick as part of your judging. So have a good look at this list, review it with your website. Are you ticking all of these boxes? And if not, try and work to fix it.
Zoe, can I just add just one little further point there?
Sure.
One of the questions asks, what is your URL? What's your website? The other asks the link to your booking system. So they're two different things. It should be actually going to your booking system. That was a point last year that a lot of people lost a lot of marks on, because the role of the judges is not to go searching for information. The information you provide here should help them very quickly just get and do their online review. But if you provide the wrong URL or the wrong information, it's not their job to say, oh, he's put the wrong URL in here, I'll go finding it. So it's just really those nuances are important.
Yeah, very, very important. And Jackie made a really good point. Our judges are all volunteers. So if they're not provided the right information and the right links, they won't go looking for them. Their time is precious, as is yours. So it's important to get this information right from the start. And all of these things can hopefully be easily fixed. So if you need to improve them, update them, now is the time, because it will count to your final score. And the next part of it is the customer rating, which is worth up to 10%. With some exceptions. So a customer rating isn't applied to individual categories or event venue of the year or excellence in innovation. But the judges will be undertaking an assessment of your popular online review platforms. And these are the links that you'll provide as part of your nomination and submission. So make sure they work, make sure they're correct, and make sure that they're being responded to well. So part of the review process is to make sure that you're interacting with your customers well. So responding to feedback, responding to reviews. So provide links that show you in the best light, and give you 5 stars. 5-star links are always encouraged to be used. So again, another important component that adds to your overall score. And this is my favorite part of this session, because this is the juicy bit. And let's face it, we're all going to use AI, a bit of AI in our submission writing, and it's not a dirty word anymore, and it's encouraged because it can be a helpful tool for time poor, for procrastinators who don't know where to start or how to start. but I need you to know how to do it well and not lose points if a judge spots it, because they will be looking for it. And if your submission looks like it's been written by a robot, they're not going to mark you well or score you well. And I don't want that to happen. And just on a little side note, actually, I want you to know that our judges have been strictly advised and instructed not to employ AI when writing your feedback. So every bit of feedback that you receive and read will have been written by a human. And I think that's a really important thing to note here, that it's coming straight from an expert's mouth and not a robot's mouth. If you were to use an AI platform, I'd recommend ChatGPT because it's still free. The only caveat to using AI is that it's still what we call a sandbox account. So it still doesn't know what life is outside September 2021, which is incredible. And you need to remember you're still the expert of your business and of your industry. So what it can't write, you can. So use it to create your framework, use it to create the bones of your submission if you want, and then please just go back and add the flavoring, if that's the right word for it, because it will be a very vanilla, very generic response that you receive, and you just need to go back in and make sure, firstly, that it's written in UK English, because it will come to you in American, and make sure that it sounds like you and that it sounds human. So you need to put the humanity back into the response that it gives you, because if you just allow AI to write it for you, then it will sound just like that. It will sound like a robot. I wouldn't advise you to let it write your whole submission, because you'll be able to tell, as I've said, and we want to get to know you and your voice and your passion. So I think the best way to look at AI is as your junior assistant. So look at it as someone who's coming with ideas about how you should structure your response, and let it do that, and then take the bones of what it gives you and then turn it into something really meaningful and powerful. And please, please don't load any private, confidential, trademark information into this tool. It's still a new tool, and we don't know how that data is being used or being stored or reused. So we don't want that to get out into the open. Not that you would load up confidential documents, I hope, but just flagging that in advance. And the other benefit of AI, which I touched on before, is it's quite logical. And again, one of the mistakes that we find that people make, not everyone, but some, is they don't answer all the questions. So the good thing is, if you load it up with the questions, it will break down all the parts of the questions for you within the word limit that you provide, which is great. So it can write to the word limit and it can answer all the parts of the question or the components of the question. And if this is something that you would like to explore a bit further, because we don't have the time to get into it now, and I'm by no means an expert, even though I'm so on board with AI. I try and get it to write everything for me. I tried to get it to write this presentation, but it didn't quite have the the brain power for that. I really recommend watching the free AI masterclass by Tracy Sheen, the digital guide. It's an exceptional 1 hour deep dive into the benefits, the pros, cons, the wonders of AI, and how you can really use it, especially for something like this, to really help you unlock the power to help write your entry. Honestly, you'll thank me for it. It's an incredible tool, and it will make all the difference to your submission. And what we want you to do is save valuable time. So get the submission perfect, but we don't want you to be removed so much from your business that it becomes a stress for you. We want to make this as easy breezy and meaningful as possible for you. So this is a tool that you can use to do that. And I really recommend that you at least learn a little bit more about using it and how we can do that for you. So just to summarize what we've covered today, before we get into Q&A, is yes, you can do it. You can, and you really should. You can. Just make the time for it, because it's important. And once you start and finish, you'll learn so much more about your business, about your wins, your successes, what makes you wonderful, what makes you unique. And it's wonderful to tell your story and have this platform to share it. So make the time to do it. It really is worth the time. Tell us your story in your own words. Make yourself stand out to the judges by doing that. Highlight what makes you unique. That's the most important thing. So find your why. find your reason for being, and then use data to back it up. I can't tell you enough how important that is as part of your submission. Answer the question in full. Again, I can't tell you how many people maybe miss a component of it or think that they've answered the whole thing, because some of them do have layered questions within the question. Check for typos. Very important. And enjoy the journey. And Jack, Donna, and I are all here to help you through to the end, and it will be a joy too. So if you get stuck, if you need help, if you have questions, my contact details will be at the end again. Feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help. And please do not leave it to the last minute. To do a little bit every week if you can. It will make a difference, because if you leave it to the last minute, you'll rush it and you won't enjoy it, and it will be a crappy submission, and we don't want that for you. So try and find the time to chip away at it a little bit at a time as you go. And that was your whirlwind entry writing masterclass, because I know we're time precious here. So it's over to you now. If you have any questions, just you can raise your hand and Miss Donna will point you out to me, sorry, or you can chuck them in the chat if you wanted to. I'll give you a few minutes just in case anyone does have anything burning.
Zoe, just while we're looking for questions, from last year's awards, some of the feedback was around not maximizing the word count. This is your opportunity, as Zoe said, to tell your story and importantly explain your uniqueness, and as she so eloquently pointed out, the why of your business, why you're doing what you do, and why it's important to the community, to the environment, to your staff, or whomever are the important people in your world. And it's really just answering the question succinctly. Bullet points are great. Evidence is even better. Data, backing up your claim to fame is really important. Can't emphasize that enough. In reading some of the feedback last year, a lot of the judges' comments were, your answer could have been improved by evidence showing, backing up your claim with evidence, whether it's surveys you've run, customer feedback, using your Google Analytics to show who your target market is, all those sorts of things. Evidence, data, statistics are gold in this situation. That's my 10 cents, with which Zoe has told you all, but just some things we can't reiterate enough.
Super important. And thank you for driving that message home. So it's super important. And you're right. And all the feedback we see could have been qualified by, we need to see data of show us how. Oh, Cicely. Hello, lovely.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much for that presentation. It was great. Jackie, just with that comment around data, with the awards category of innovation, you're doing something that's new and different. So what would you consider to be appropriate data for that type of category?
So I guess in that instance, it would be the gap you've found in the market to drive the opportunity that you found to develop your innovative product.
Okay.
So then it would be around the research you've done, and that a gap's been identified. That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
In that
that's
piece.
Helpful. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It helps explain your why as well, I guess, is because you've found an opportunity or recognized an opportunity. But yes, if you can back that up with the work that you've done to find that gap in the market, then I think that would be well recognized.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? while you have us.
Any other questions? This is your chance. No question is too silly.
No question is too silly.
Wow. Well, you've done so well, Zoe.
Oh,
Folks,
thank
Zoe
you.
kindly offered her, I think her, yes, her contacts are after you've probably all got mine. Obviously, we're deeply involved in the process and there'd be a conflict of interest to look at a submission or, you know, help more than provide general overview or the sort of broad advice that we've provided just now. But if you're having any trouble with the portal or anything like that, Zoe is your woman. For more general things, I can help with that. One of the things that Zoe did labor is don't leave it to the last minute. The reason that we have the payment at the beginning of the process this year is we had about 3 events that were trying to submit payment at 5 o'clock on the day the awards were closing last year. And obviously it takes time to enter your details in, and they weren't able to complete the payment in time. So I was fielding calls from people, but I was ready to hit submit. I had to pay. Do not leave it till that last minute. The other thing, it puts stress on the system. Obviously, if we've got 50 people trying to hit send within the last hour. So, you know, think it through, review your submission several times. If you've got a partner or a staff member that can cast their eyes over it, because they will see different things. You know, typos are not a good look, regardless of the fact that they're not really being judged on. So yeah, all of those points that Zoe made are just super important. And we will share the session. There's also guidelines on our website. If you go to our website, dnc.com, you will
The link's
see.
in the chat.
Donna,
yeah.
that's not our website. Can you pop it in there, please? And there's our we've got an awards and symposium page, and there's entry guidelines as well of each of the categories, and obviously a link through to enter. And the awards ceremony will be on the 1st of August, the evening of after our daytime symposium conference. So if you haven't already blocked that out in your diary, in Port Macquarie, 1st of August, must attend events on our calendar. And otherwise, I think we can maybe wrap up early if there's no questions.
Ooh. And again, feel free to reach out, because sometimes it's a bit daunting to ask them in a public forum. So there are my details on screen. Send me an email at whatever stage you're at, whenever, before the submission deadline. And yeah, just a quick thank you from me for your time today. I hope you found it useful and informative. I know how precious everyone's time is at the moment. And we're all here with you every step of the way. And just a really fond farewell from me, and I can't wait to see all of you hopefully at the end of this wonderful journey. So lots of love until then, and don't be a stranger. I'm right here whenever you need me.
And my thanks to Zoe and the team from Business New South Wales. Always great working with them. She's quite the personality, shall I say.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Look forward to seeing your submissions come in.